All right, guys, today's topic, we're going to be doing another review, and it's going to be on The One Thing.
Great book. We're going to talk about our thoughts and, the tools learned and what we rate this book. But before we do ask that if you guys are enjoying our content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
So we'll just jump in. Who's the avatar for this book?
I think the person that's going to, benefit the most out of this book is, for one, the person that doesn't have a regular 9 to 5 to start. When you don't have that standard 9 to 5, there isn't a blueprint of what you should do, right? From 9 a.m. all the way to 5 p.m. You don't have necessarily all the time a supervisor micromanaging you. And that all sounds great. But what happens now when you wake up and you're like, what do I do? Right? If you're starting a business, there's a bunch of things you have to do, but what's the most important one? How do you prioritize? Anyone starting out, anyone in sales, that most of the time is commission based, so no one really cares what you do as long as you produce. So what do you do?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So I feel like Ronnie said, the avatar, it's going to be someone who's owning a business, doesn't have a 9 to 5, or someone that just has a few too many things on their plate that they don't know how to prioritize. This book will teach you how to figure out what is the most important thing you should be doing every day. So this is for anybody who maybe feels a little bit unorganized, a little bit that just doesn't feel like maybe they're in the right place, or someone who's even thinking about getting out of their 9 to 5 job. Just know this book helps you on all levels.
Just in general, my thoughts on the book, I think it's fantastic. One of my pet peeves, I read a lot. I don't like books that have a lot of fluff because they need it to be a certain amount of pages for it to hit. What's this book? This book is about 200 pages. It's a quick read, but every chapter is meaningful, is purposeful. It really breaks down. For one, he talks a lot about theory first, like why multitasking is not real, which it's not. And how you need to figure out, he has a good imagery of dominoes, and how you have to figure out what's the most important thing you can do today to knock down the first domino. So then tomorrow you knock down the next domino. And by the time you get to 5 years in, you're knocking down $1 million dominoes, which turn into $1 million deals.
This guy gave you a little bit of a cliff note right there.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to take in a different direction. My thoughts of this book, it was pretty much just everybody thinks they could prioritize multiple things as the most important. What he really taught me is that there's only one thing that's going to be most important for you to do every day, and you start there. So say your day starts at 9 a.m. You're always like, what do I do first? Let me get all these bullshit tasks out of the way that I should do. No, start with the most important ones, because that's where your brain is the freshest. So that was step one. He puts it very practical. How can I just figure out what I need to do? You reverse engineer it. Find out what your North Star is. That's what Ronnie and I do every day. What is the one thing I'm really trying to accomplish? For us, it's sales, getting deals. So now you reverse engineer this. And in the book, he really teaches you key ways to reverse engineer or find your North Star, so then you could figure out what is that one thing you need to do every day. One other thing I want to talk about is tools and mindsets, right? So this book gives you a lot of tools to then be able to find your one thing and actually focus on it and master it. But the important thing that he kind of gives me is that everybody who's successful, they just master one thing. If you really think about it, Microsoft, right? Bill Gates, what did he do? He focused on building a Microsoft system for people to use, and that was his one thing. He wasn't building 10 businesses at once. He focused on the one thing that he thought it was going to help consumers, and that technology was changing, was going to help. So he focused on that every single day and made sure he prioritized that being his one thing.
Apple, right? They had a bunch of products. Steve Jobs came in and he's like, we're going to do one thing, right?
Boom.
The Apple iPhone. And we're
Exactly.
going to kill the market with that. And then once that is on autopilot and I no longer have to prioritize it now, right, they move on to other things.
Exactly.
So, yeah, definitely. In terms of tools, one of the coolest things that I've learned is time blocking. Multitasking. Here's the problem with multitask. First of all, you can't multitask unless it's something like breathing, right? Technically, we're always multitasking because we're always breathing and doing something else, right? So he talks about how things that take thought, you can't do two things that take thought at the same time. Yeah, you can walk and get on the phone, right? Because there's not a lot of thought to walking. The idea that people kind of misconstrued is that you can multitask when doing two things that involves thought. What you're really doing, right, is, let's say, I don't know, I'm writing an essay and I'm studying for an exam, right? Oh, I'm doing both at the same time. No, you're not. What you're doing is you're going back and forth. But what people don't account for is the fact that it's going to take you like 15 minutes every time you switch over to get in that zone. And for those who like do a lot of heavy thinking or work that involves a lot of thought, you guys know what I'm talking about when it comes to the zone, right? You want to try to stay in that zone for as long as possible. And people that multitask are constantly removing themselves from being in that zone, right? So that's like one of my biggest takeaways that I still use now. So I do a couple of things for our business. It's important that I compartmentalize everything, right? So if I'm in sales mode, I'm only in sales mode. I'm not doing anything else. If I'm like, let's say managing properties, I'm only in managing properties zone. I'm not worried about sales, because that's how like you become like not productive and you lose sight on like your North Star.
This isn't just for work. You know, you can have a personal one thing, and we both do have a personal one thing and a work one thing, because it is important to make sure you integrate these things, because work and family, health, balance, whatever is important to you, you want to make sure you are following those. An example of a personal one thing is I want to make sure I spend time with my family every single day. So then how do I do that? You know, so these are just things you could think about, and it helps every part of your life, your business, your personal life, your health. You're keeping all these in line with having a one thing of exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and then every day you'll find things to do for it.
Yeah, guys. And in terms of a rating, man,
What do you got? What do you got?
1 through 10. I'm biased because I'm only choosing books I like. I'm at 8.5 with this one. I read this. They have like maybe 10 books that I read every year, and this is one of them. Helps you kind of reassess. Am I doing too much? Have I lost sight on like the one thing for me? And every time I read this book, kind of brings it back. So this is 8.5.
Yeah, I'm going to say this is at least a 9 for me.
Whoa.
Because this is one of the 5 books I like to reread every year, and we'll get to those other 4. But this book could change your life. You know, if you really read this and implement the steps that he kind of puts in place for you to like really change your mindset, this can build your business. This can help you get out of a job you don't like and find something you want to do. And for myself and Ronnie, it helped us increase our sales by a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I say this book's a 9. If you haven't read it yet, read it. And hopefully you guys like the review.
Yeah, guys. And just so you guys know, we're actually me and Jagger are gonna attach a Google link. So just for a document, and all these content reviews and books that we're doing, we're just gonna add it to a list. You guys feel free to click it. It'll be on the link description. So in case you guys want to read it, the list will be there for you.
Boom.